Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining tonight's Hilchos Bais Habchirah share. As per the Rabbi's directives to increase in Torah study, the Chabad is holding the shiurim. We're supposed to increase, especially in Hilchos Bais Habchirah during the 3 weeks. Tomorrow, the shiur is going to be a 5-minute segment in addition to the Neshei Chabad's Power Hour. So that's going to be every Tuesdays, but the full Hilchos Bais Habchirah shiur is going to run Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We're going to begin with Tehillim and then do Tzedakah and then move on to Torah. So if you can take out a Tehillim, we're going to do the Rebbe's Kapitel. Shir Hamales Elecha Nasasi Esenai Hayeshvi Bashamayim. Hine Che'ene Avadim Al Yad Adinehem Ke'ene Shifcha Al Yad Gibirta Ke'enenu El Adonai Eloheinu Ad Shechanenu. Chanenu Adonai Chanenu Kirav Savanu Vuz Rabba Sava La Nafshenu Hala'ag Hashananim Habuz L'gei Yonim. Chi Adonenu Marinu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach La'olam Vad. Now we're going to say the Rebbe's Kapitel. Shir Hamales LaDavid Lulei Adonai Shahaya Lanu Yomer Na Yisrael Lulei Adonai Shahaya Lanu Bekum Aleinu Adam Azai Chaim Bilaunu Bachareis Apam Banu Azai Hamayim Shetafunu Nachla Avar Al Nafshenu Azai Avar Al Nafshenu Hamayim Hazidainim Baruch Adonai Shaloi Nesananu Teref Lishinehem Nafshenu Kitzipur Nimlotami Pach Yekshim Apach Nishbar Va'anachnu Nimlatnu Azreinu B'Shem Adonai Eisei Shamayim Va'aretz. Now we're going to say Kapitel Chaf. Maybe a zchus of protection for everyone who needs a refuah shlema and protection for Eretz Yisrael, and for the hostages, everyone who needs Yeshua, Geula, and refuah. Here we go. Lamnateach mizmor leDavid. Yancha Adonai b'yom Sarah yisagevcha shem elehei Yaakov. Yishlach ezrecha mikodesh u'mitzion yisadeka. Yizkar kol min chaysecha ve'elasecha yidashana sela. Yitan lecha chilvavacha v'chol atzascha yimale. Nirana bishuasecha v'shem elheinu nidgal. Yimale Adonai kol mashalesecha. Ati yadaiti ki Yeshia Adonai Mashiachai Yaneu mishemei kache b'gvuras yesha yaminai. Ela v'recha ve'ela v'asusim v'anachnu b'shem Adonai elheinu nazkir. Hema karu v'nafalu v'anachnu kamnu v'nisaydad. Adonai Haishia Hamelech Yanenu v'yam karenu. Yinotziem b'mishpat tzipade v'shaleh b'tzedakah. We're all going to give tzedakah now. Gedei l'tzedakah shemekareves es ha'geula. So we did Tehillim and tzedakah, and now we're going to move on to Torah. And we're going to learn Hilchos Bais Habchirah and deepen our readiness for Geula. We are very excited again to have Rabbi Mendel Mayzlesh, Shliach to Mexico City, to teach us Hilchos Bais Habchirah.
Thank you very much. And as we mentioned, to go this over again, when we're learning these halachis of the Beis Hamikdash, as we see them here in the Rambam, in the Mishnayos, in the Psukim in Yechezkel, just as the Navi tells us, limudo kibinyano, when we learn about it, this is our participation, the most that we could do today in building the Beis Hamikdash. Today's topic, we're going to take the shi'arim, the doorways of the Beis Hamikdash. We mentioned them a bit in the last year when we spoke about the Shomrim. We mentioned a little bit where the doorways were. In today's year, we're going to focus on these doorways, on these doors, the way they're brought down in the Mishnayos and in the different Psukim and Halachas. So, as we mentioned, these shiurim, mainly we're going to try to focus on different sichos of the Rebbe. We're going to take it more by topics. So we're not going in order. We're learning the Mishnayos and the halachis that are on today's topic. So we're going to be learning different Mishnayos that speak about shi'arim of the Beis Hamikdash, and then halachis and Rambam that are connected to these Mishnayos. So here's the PDF. We're going to start now with the Mishnayos, Maseches Midas, Perek Aleph, Mishnah Gimel. What we're going to be speaking about now is, we're going to speak about the Chamisha Sha'arim. We mentioned in last year that the Shemim used to guard different sharim in the Beis Hamikdash. Today, in today's year, we're going to see more about them. So, Perek Aleph Mishnah Gimel. Chamisha sharim hayu lahar Bayis. Shnei shari chuldu min adari mishamshim knisa v'yitzia. Kipenis min amaydov mishamish knisa v'yitzia. Tadi min atzafein loya mishamish klum. Shar hamizrachi olav shushan abiro tzura. Shebayka in god laserif saparo faro v'chol misadel yoitzim lahar hamishcha. We actually mentioned this in the last year because we spoke about these doorways, about where the shemrim are guarding. Maybe we could expand a little bit more, being that our focus today is actually on the sharim. So right now we're talking about Har Bayis. Again, we have the Beis Hamikdash, and around the Beis Hamikdash we have a mountain. That mountain has 5 doorways. We mentioned that there are 2 doorways in the southern side, because that's mainly where the people came in. Kipanis is on the western side, and also people would come in and go out from that door. Tadi is on the Tzafein side. Now, the Mishnah says here, it wasn't really used. The shar of Tadi wasn't really used. And as we might see later on, this shar was a little bit different from the rest of the doors, being that it was made in a triangular form. Usually, a door has a mashkaif, and this door was like 2 stones, one on top of the other, forming a doorway. And then we mentioned the Shar HaMizrachi, which is the eastern door of the Har Bayis. Again, we're not talking about the Beis Hamikdash. We're talking about the mountain, the eastern door of the mountain. And on this door, there was a tzura of Shushan. Shushan were the ones who gave them the permission to build the Beis Hamikdash. That's when they came back to build it, and they made on this wall, on this doorway, they made a tzura. They made like a shape of the city of Shushan. What was this door used for? The Kayin who would burn the Paraduma would use this door to go out and take all the things, the Paran, whatever was needed for the Paraduma, to the Har HaMishcha. So basically, the Beis Hamikdash is on Har HaMeiriyah. In front of that mountain, there's another mountain called Har HaMishcha. The Para Aduma is very interesting. It's one of the karbanis that are not made in the Beis Hamikdash. It's made on another mountain outside of the Beis Hamikdash on the Har HaMishcha. And they use this door to go out with the Para Aduma to bring it to the Har HaMishcha, to make the carbon, to make the Para Aduma there. It's interesting to mention when they used to sprinkle the blood, the kohen who was bringing the carbon had to look towards the ulam, and therefore towards the heichal, and therefore many parts of the shape of the Beis Hamikdash and the doorways, how tall they were or how tall the walls were done in a way that the kohen who's burning the paraduma will be able to look and see all the way through the heichal. Now we're moving on to the doorways of the actual Beis Hamikdash. Mishnah Dalid. Shiva Sha'arim Hayu Ba'azara. There were 7 doorways in the Azara. Now, if you remember, in the last year we mentioned that there were 5 doors of the Azara. We said that the Levim used to guard in 21 doorways, and we mentioned that there were 5 doorways, and here we're mentioning that there are 7 doorways. And as we're going to see in the next Perek and Mishnayos that we're going to see in a minute, there's another opinion that there were 13 doorways, and there's another opinion that there were 8 doorways. And the Rabbi explains on this, what was there a machlekes, how many doorways exactly there were in the Beis Hamikdash? There's a klal, you can't have a machlekes and a mitzius. Whatever was. There can't be a machlekes of how the Beis Hamikdash was shaped. It was one or the other. How could you have so many opinions on a fact? So the Rebbe explains that the machlekes is not how many doorways there were. There were 13 doorways. But the question is, what is considered a chashivet doorway to be considered a shar of the Beis Hamikdash? Could be that there were different openings which technically you could use to go into the Hazara, but it's not considered an official shar. And the different opinions are what officially is called a shar, a proper shar, to go into the Beis Hamikdash. I guess the difference would be whether where the shemrim should stand. Also, the Rebbe brings another concept. If someone comes in betuma, it would have to come into the Beis Hamikdash derech bia. in the normal way of coming in, and if it's not an official shar, it's not considered derech biyah. But again, here in Mishnah Dalid, in Perek Aleph Mishnah Dalid, we're naming 7 sha'arim. Now, I have here a small model of the Beis HaMikdash over here, and we'll try to use it to explain which parts we're talking about now. Where are these sha'arim? So right now we're talking about the Azara. So this is the Beis HaMikdash in whole. The Azara, whenever we're talking about the Azara, we're talking about the Chatzar that's around the Heichel. It's important to mention that the Beis HaMikdash, when the Rambam mentions as a Geder, what is a Mikdash? The Rambam mentions that there's a Kodesh HaKadoshim, which is inside of the Heichel. Then there's a Kodesh, which is also inside of the Heichel. The Ulam, which is also the opening of the Heichel. And then there's a wall around the Heichel. We're not talking about the wall that goes around the whole Beis HaMikdash. The wall that goes a little bit further out around the Heichel, that's considered like the Chatzar of the Mishkan, or what we call the Azara. So when we're talking about the Sha'arim here, we're not talking about maybe other doors that were outside. We're talking about the doors of the Azara, which is this part of the Beis HaMikdash. So it says here that there are Shleisha Badarim ve'echad b'mizrach. So first we're mentioning the Shi'arim, which are on the southern part. So let's just explain what's going on over here. This is Mizrach, Ma'irav, Tzafin, and Darim. Again, east, west, north, and south. This would be corresponding to this model over here. And right now we're going to talk about Sha'arim. Shabadarim, we're going to be we're mentioning right now the 3 doors in the Darim. So the Mishnah says there are 3 in the Dar, 3 in the Tzafin, 3 in the Darim, and 1 is in the Mizrach. Shabadarim shar hadelek, sheni loy shar habcheres, shlishi loy shar hamayim. So this would be the Darim side. In this model, I see they actually made 3 openings. And these 3 doors will represent these three doorways going into the Beis HaMikdash, which are Shar HaDelek, Shar HaBcheres, and Shar HaMayim. Now, why are these 3 doorways in the Darim side, or what are they used for? Shar HaDelek is used to bring the wood into the Beis HaMikdash to put it on the Mizbeach. Being that the ramp of the Mizbeach is towards the Darim side, therefore, Shar HaDelek is on the Darim. Shar HaBcheres, where they would bring the karbanes bcheres. Why are we specifying bcheres? Because most karbanes, many karbanes, we have to bring them on the tzafin side of the Azara. Shchitason batzafin. However, the bcheres, the shchita doesn't have to be in the tzafin. Therefore, the shar where they would bring the karbanes bcheres was able to be on the Darim. And then we mentioned Shar HaMayim. This could be, the reason why it was called Shar HaMayim could be because when they would do the Simchas Beis HaShe'eva, and they would draw the water to pour on the Mizbeach, so they would bring the water through this doorway, and that's why it's called Shar HaMayim. And another reason why it could be called Shar HaMayim in Yechezkel, when it speaks about the 3rd Beis HaMikdash, it speaks about a stream of water that will come out from the Beis HaMikdash, and according to some opinions, it would be going out equivalent to this in the 3rd Beis HaMikdash, that the waters would come out from that side, from this shar. Then in the Mizrach side, so in our model, we would be speaking over here about this shar, the one that we would have over here. This shar is called Shar Nikanor. Shar Nikanor is a famous shar. We have a famous story with the way that these doors were brought to the Beis HaMikdash. There was a person, his name was Nikanor, and he had Mesirus Nefesh to bring these doors. As we know, he took them on a boat. He went all the way to Alexandria to make really beautiful doors for the Beis HaMikdash. And on the way, there was a big storm, and the ship was going to drown, and they had to throw one door off. When they wanted to throw the second one off, he said, if you're throwing it off, you're going to have to throw me off with it. When they saw such Mesirus Nefesh, they waited a bit, and then the storm calmed down. And when they ended up coming to Eretz Yisrael, they saw that the second door was floating beneath the ship. So there was a special miracle that happened with this door, and it's called Shar Nikaner, either because of the name of the one who bought these doors. There's another opinion also that it's called Shar Nikaner because there was an evil general who was fighting with the Yidden, and when they killed him, they hung him on this door, and that's why it's called Shar Nikaner. That's another opinion. Then the Mishnah continues, there are two chambers next to these doors, next to Shar Nikaner. There are two lishachis, two chambers. Achas lishkas Pinchas Amalbish. One is where Pinchas Amalbish, he was the one who used to prepare the clothing for the Koyanim. That's where the Koyanim would get their big day kahuna. The Achas lishkas Eistei Chavitin, and the other one was called Eistei Chavitin. They would make like a special bread that was made in the that the Kohen Gadol would have to bring, and that's where they used to make these chavitin in the second chamber. Okay, so what did we see here? We saw the sha'arim. Second, so we saw the sha'arim of the Bais. We saw the sha'arim of the Azara. But we mentioned only the ones from the Dardim and the Tzaf and the Mizrach. We didn't bring the Tzaf in. For some reason, I didn't bring here the Mishnah. Hey, so I'll read it from inside the Mishnayos. We mentioned the doorways in the southern side and in the eastern side. Now we're going to talk about the doors in the northern side. Shara Nitzay, Ucheminach Sadrahaya, Vali Abnu Yalgabov. So now we're talking about the shopping of the Beis Hamikdash, which would be this side, the side that we mentioned that many karbanis were brought on that side. And the Shara Nitzitz was towards the Maida, and there was a second floor on it. And the Kohanim used to guard on top, and the Levim on the Vadim. And it had a special opening to the Chel. The Chel was another area around the Beis Hamikdash that only Yidden were able to go into that part. And Shlishilai, third to it, was the Beis Hamoiked. The Beis Hamoiked had many small rooms in it. It is known for like a rounded top that it had, and these are the three sha'arim that we had in that were on the northern side. Okay, now this is the way it's brought down in Perek Aleph. I wanted to mention that later on there are other opinions about it. So let's move on now to Perek Bais Mishnah Gimel. Second. Okay, so we have it here in the PDF. Okay, so Perek Bais Mishnah Gimel. Perek Bais Mishnah Gimel. Going inward, and okay, so here we're skipping. We're going into another perek, and we're coming on to Har HaBayit, and now we're coming to a place which is called the Seidig. The Seidig is like a gate around the Beis Hamikdash, and it's 10 tfachim high. Ushleishes pratis hayusham shepratzu malchi Yavon. The Yevanim, when they came into the Beis Hamikdash, they made 13 breaches in this gate. Chazru Gdarum, and then the Chashmonaim, the Maccabees, when they came and they took back the Beis Hamikdash, and we had the miracle of Hanukkah, they fixed up this gate. The Gazru Kenegdam Shleishes Ishtachavayis, and they made 13. They instituted that Yidden should bow 13 times in order to remember this special nace that Hashem made. I wanted to show here why did the Yevanim want to make 13 breaches in this Seidig? I'm going to send a picture right now. Maybe we could show it on the screen. Okay. The picture that I just sent is a special sign that they had outside of the Seder. And they would have it in different languages, and they were basically warning the Goyim not to pass this area, because if they pass this area, it says basically like your life is in danger. Here you could come till here, but from here on you cannot pass. When the Yevanim came and they see such a sign around the Beis Hamikdash, so they wanted to show their nitzachim, and they made 13 breaches in the Seireg around. And again, when the Chashmonaim came and they fixed it up, so whoever would go around this place and pass by the place that this great miracle happened, that we had this nitzachim, so they made that we should bow 13 times for this great nes. Now we're going to continue on. There were 12 steps going up from the Chel to the Azara. Every step was a half an amma by half an amma. In another share, we're going to talk more about the steps of the Beis Hamikdash, but it's mentioning here that every step was half an amma by half an amma, and most steps were like this besides the steps of the Ulam. We'll get to this, B'ezras Hashem, in another share. Here where it's in the words here in red, going back to the doors, all the openings and the doors that were in the Beis Hamikdash, Gavan Esrim Amma Verachban Es Eser Amis. Their height was 10 amis, and their height was 20 amis, and the width was 10 amis. Chutz mishal ulam, besides the ulam. The ulam was 40 amis tall, double the size, and 20 amis wide. All the openings, all the doorways of the Beis Hamikdash had doors. Chutz mishal ulam, the ulam didn't have doors. I'm going to skip the rest of the Mishnah, and I'm going now to Mishnah Vav. There were different rooms open between the Ezras Yisrael and the Ezras Nashim. So let's see it here in our model. This would be the Ezras Yisrael, this is the Ezras Nashim, this is the Sha'ar Nikanor, and there were rooms going from one to the other. And it's going on, and it's bringing different things from this part of the Beis Hamikdash, and we're going to skip to the red words that are a little further on. Abba Yosef ben Chanan Eimer, Keneged Shleisha Asar Shardim. Abba Yosef ben Chanan says that the 13 ishtachavayis, the 13 times that a yid would bow in the Beis Hamikdash, was in front of the 13 sha'arim. So again, the last year that we gave, we spoke about 5 sha'ari azara. Then in the Mishnah that we mentioned before, we spoke about 7 sha'arim in the azara. And here we're mentioning 13 sha'arim of the azara. Again, the question is, what is considered a sha'ar? But obviously, all these openings were there because we're talking about a metzias. Now, here he's going to describe the different sha'arim that we have that we have here. Sha'arim dreimim smuchim l'mayrav sha'ar elin sha'ar dalek sha'ar Habchirah sha'ar mayim v'lamanik sha'ar mayim she'machnisim tzedek sha'ar mayim sha'al nisuk v'chag. Okay, I'm going to read it a little bit fast because we still have to have time to go through the halachis and also a beautiful sikha that is on this topic that we're learning today. Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov Eimer, like we mentioned before about the Sha'ar HaMayim, that they would bring in the mayim of the Simchas Beis HaShe'eva, and also the water will go out from here in the third Beis HaMikdash, as it's born in Yechezkel. There was a certain shar called Shar Yechanya. When Yechanya left the Galus, he left through that shar. If I'm not mistaken, Yechanya came in to bow in the Beis Hamikdash before he was sent out to Galus. And then he came out from this shar. Sheba Mizrach Shar Nikanor, as mentioned before, Shnei Pishpish and Hayulain, it has 2 small doors going in from there from the Ezras Nashim to the Ezras Yisrael. Echad mimina v'echad mismele shnayim mimayrav le'yalem shem, and two on the western side didn't have a name. So he adds a few more sha'arim. Two of them are here, two of them are in the back, and a few other ones coming to the number of 13. Now, we just went through the Mishnayos. We're going to see now the halachas in the Rambam that are equal to the Mishnayos that we saw. We're now in the halachas, Hilchos Bais Habchirah, Perek Daled Halacha Vav. Hapishpish v'ushar katan u'shnei pishpishin hoyu laheichel mitzidi ashar agadol sheba'emtza echad b'tzafin v'echad b'darim sheba'darim lo nichnas b'yodam elam. So now the Rambam is speaking now about a doorway that is in the Heichel. Here we only see the Pesach Ulam, the doorway of the Ulam, and as mentioned, it doesn't have a door. But inside, going through the Ulam, there's another door to go into the Heichel. That door had two small doors on both sides. One of them was used, the one in the Tzafin, the one on the northern side, was used to open up the big door of the Heichel. And the one on the southern side, it says that no one went through that door. And with this, we're going to mention the pasuk in Yechezkel. And as the Rebbe says, also to learn those psukim. So I put it here in purple. This is something that we're mentioning from Yechezkel. V'alav u'mefurash al yidei Yechezkel. On this, it's mentioned in Yechezkel. Hashar hazeh sagur yiyeh lo yipasach. This door is closed; it will not be opened, and it's a doorway that the Shekhinah comes through. It goes on, the one on the Tzafin side, that's what they used to use. They used to go through a small door to open up the big door of the Heichel. Going to the next halacha, halacha Zayin. Hashar agadol yirach bei eser amis v'goyvei esrim ama v'arba dlos yitzaylo shtayim b'fnim u'shtayim b'chutz. Hachitzenis niftach es tzich hapesach lechazit oivi shel keisul apnimis niftach es tzich abayis lechazit acheri adlosi. This is something very interesting about the doors of the Heichel. The Heichel's walls were covered in gold. Besides the part that was behind the doors of the Heichel, they used to open in a very special way that they would cover this area, and then the whole area would be covered with gold. Being that the doors were already gold, so they didn't cover that part in gold, and when the doors would open, then the whole Heichel would be covered in gold. Now, halacha chet, pizchei shel ulam, hayagavayar baim ama v'reichav esrim. We mentioned that the ulam had a different measurement from the rest of the sha'arim in the Beis Hamikdash. All the doorways in the Beis Hamikdash, at least the chashuva ones, were 20 amis by 10 amis. But the ulam is double. The ulam is 40 amis tall by 20 amis wide. And it didn't have doors. And then the Rambam goes on to speak a little bit more about the doorway of the ulam. Okay, and the last two are also speaking about the last two halachas are also speaking about the sha'arim in the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, with this we went through the halachas, the mishnayos, and we mentioned also from something from Yechezkel on the topic of the doorway. So let's make a sikkum. In short, let's explain what we spoke about today. We spoke about different opinions of how many doorways there were in the Azara, and as we explained, the Rebbe says that it's not a machlekes b'mitzios. It's not an argument if there were 7 or 8 or 13 doors or 5 doors. Rather, the question would be, what is considered a main door? And we spoke about different sha'arim on the northern side, the southern side, the tzafin and the darim. We spoke about the shar nikanar, which had a special name. Then we spoke about the Pesach or Ulam. The Ulam, we said, the first door coming into the Heichel, the door going into the Ulam, was a massive door, which was 40 amis by 20 amis. This was the biggest door in the Beis Hamikdash. And going through there are more doors. There's the actual door to the Heichel after going in the hallway of the Ulam going into the Heichel. Okay. Once I mentioned it already, I would like to just mention one last thing about the doors. Here I have a model of the third Beis Hamikdash. You can see. In the third Beis Hamikdash, the doorways are there a little bit in a different structure than in the second Beis Hamikdash. And these doorways are actually they're actually a lot higher. These doorways are 50 amis tall by 10 amis wide. Now we're going to go to the Sikha of the Rebbe. Now, this Sikha of the Rebbe, what we're going to quote now, is brought down also in Likutei Torah. It's brought down in Shir HaShirim, in the Mamarim of Shir HaShirim, in the end of Likutei Torah, page Lamed Hey. It's the Ramaschil Pischili, and it's also brought down in the Mamarim of the Tzemach Tzedek. The first shir we mentioned that the Rebbe speaks about learning Hilchos based on Habchirah, including the way it was revealed in Chassidus. And in that Sikha, the Rebbe mentions especially to learn Ma'amarim and teachings of the Tzemach Tzedek that speak about Beis Habchirah. So this Maimer that we're going to talk about today is a Maimer Likutei Torah, also mentioned by the Tzemach Tzedek, and the Rebbe also speaks about this concept that's brought in this Maimer. There is Maimer Chazal, and it's an interesting question where this Maimer Chazal is. There are similar Maimarei Chazal to the one that I'm going to mention now. The Rebbe asks exactly where it is, and the Rebbe brings different mentions. That says, Pizcholi Pesach kechudei shel machat, vani eftach lochem Pesach kepischei shel ulam. Open, Hashem tells the Yidden, open for me a door, open for me an opening as large as the prick of a needle. And when you will open for me such an opening, I will open for you the door of the ulam. Now, speaking about this Maimer Chazal and remembering the Mishnah and the halacha that we brought in the Rambam, the ulam doesn't have a door, right? So again, Hashem says, open for me an opening even as big as the prick of a needle, and I will open for you an opening like the door of the ulam. But don't forget, the ulam doesn't even have a door. In the Maimer of the Alter Rebbe mentions that the doors of the Beis Hamikdash represent a special way of getting hashpa milamayla. All the hashpais, all influences that we get, being that the Beis Hamikdash is the source of Kedusha, so the hamshachis come through the Beis Hamikdash. Now, what is a door? A door is closed, and you have to open the door. So all around the Azara, we have many, many doors. And these doors sometimes are closed and sometimes are open, but someone has to open them. And it represents an Isarusa de Lisata that will bring an Isarusa de Leila. Again, we have these doors, and you actually have to open the doors. If you want to get a Hamshacha, you want to get a Hashpa, Milamayla, so you have to open the door. And by making a Ishtadlus from your side, then through the Isarusa de Lisata, you open up the door, and when the door is open, then you get a Hamshacha Milamayla. Now, when we say that you open up the door, and any door, it could be even a door that is as small as a prick of a needle. What door do we find open inside of the Azara? You find a door that never closes, a massive door, 40 amas by 20 amas, which represents something massive, a massive open door that will never close. And this represents a Sarusa de Leila, a Hamshacha, that comes from above, that doesn't depend in your actions. Again, sometimes when we do a Ishtadlus, so we bring a certain Hamshacha Milamayla, but then there are certain Eires, there are certain revelations and certain Ashpais that we could get from above that are so high and so great that it doesn't depend on the person, it doesn't depend on our Maisim, it doesn't depend on what we do. The Hamshacha is there from itself. Some things do depend on our actions, and some things are so great, some Hamshachas are so great that it does not depend on us. Says the Alter Rebbe, this Pesach Ulam never closes because these Hamshachis are always there. These Ashpais are always there, will never stop, whether you worked for it or not. But the question is, how do you get there? How do you get to this great shar? How do you get to this great Pesach Ulam? In order to get to the Ulam, you have to go through the Azara. So yes, the ulam has a massive shar that's always open, representing Hamshacha that's always there, and Isarusa de Leila that's not dependent on our Isarusa de Lasata, constantly giving Hashpais in whatever is needed. But in order to get into the Azara, you have to get in. Where do you get in? It doesn't matter. Get through any door. Get in through a prick of a needle. Make sure you make it through to the Azara. Once you make it through to the Azara, in front of you, you have this massive doorway of the ulam, and again, it does not have doors. The doors of the Azara sometimes are open, sometimes are closed. It depends on you and the amount that you work. That is what you're going to get milamaila. The Pesach ulam doesn't have any doorways. It's constantly flowing. It's constantly giving the brachas milamaila. But just find your way into the Azara, find your way into the courtyard of the Beis Hamikdash, and over there is a constant hashpah, way greater than any ishtadlos that we could do from our side. Now, this was a maimer of the Alter Rebbe, mentioned also by the Tzemach Tzedek, and here I'm going to mention a few more nekudas that the Rebbe mentioned in the Sikha. This Sikha is a Sikha of Purim in Tafshin Yud Bais, and the Rebbe brings down also this Pischuli Kechudesh Shel Machat, that we should open an opening even as large as the prick of a needle, and Hashem will open up an opening like the ulam. So the Rebbe says when we're talking about the ulam, we have two chidushim in the ulam. That it's 40 amis, it's bigger than the rest of the sha'arim, and also that it doesn't have glosses, it's always open. And the Rebbe explains that this is a promise from Hashem, that when a yid does something from his side, and he makes even a kleina lechel, even a little hole, and the Rebbe explains here, this represents making a hole in his mitzios and his yeshus. You have a little needle, and a person sometimes is egoistic, and he could be a yesh. Take the needle and make a little hole in your yeshus. And when you prick that small hole in your yeshus, and you have somewhat bittul, you're mevatel yourself, you take down your yeshus, then the opening that you'll find inside, the opening that you'll find is an opening of the ulam that it never closes. You can't close it. It doesn't have a door. So when you make the opening from your side, you'll order, even if it's as small as the hole of a needle, you're going to find a door that's open. And in the words of the Rebbe, it's open, bringing Hamshacha Likis, Sayin the Ruchnis the Kinyanim, Sayin the Gashmi, Ein Binyanim Agashmin, Bibane, Chayim, Zainer Revisa, when you do the opening from your side and you make your ishtadlos, the opening that you find, and getting through the opening that you will find in front of you is a great opening, giving all hashpais needed, the gashmius beruchnius. Now, why are we mentioning the chudesh shel machat? Why do we mention dafka needle? So the Rebbe mentioned something very interesting. What do we use a needle for? The needle is used to sew, right? If you have two pieces of material, so we use the needle to sew them together. And the Rebbe says this is our Aveda here in this world. Our Aveda is to connect Gashmius and Ruchnius. And therefore, when we're talking about the Pesach Shel Machat, to make our small ishtadlos, when we do our ishtadlos through our Aveda, which this is making a dir leis barich and connecting Gashmius and Ruchnius, so this is what brings to the greatest galus milamaila. Some people could think that the world and Hashem are two mitzvahs. Hashem is way beyond and above, and this world is separate from Hashem. We use the needle to sew it together and to show everyone, no, the world and Hashem is one, and we will bring this galus, we will bring the revelation of Hashem into this world. The Rebbe continues also explaining the height, that it's 40 amis, and the Rebbe says that 40 amis is 2 times chaf, 2 times 20. And chaf represents kacha shecha ka'eda. This was a farbringen of Purim. That chayav inish lebesumi v'poraya ad leyada ben Ar-Rahman ben Baruch Mordechai l'Ar-Rahman. So, in other words, that you have a certain level of a revelation from Hashem, that darkness and light is on the same level. So the Rebbe says when we're talking about the Pesach Ulam, we're talking about this level of Isgalus, of a godly revelation, that darkness and light is on the same level when we're talking about this madrega. So with this, the Rebbe says again, we should make our ishtadlus, even if it's a smallish ishtadlus, to prick our yeshus. We know what's right, we know what we should be doing, but sometimes for our mitzios, it becomes a little bit complicated. Open up that opening and let it be. If it's an iskafia, even of the size of the tip of a needle. Again, when we do that iskafia, when we do that ishtadlus, even if it's a very little ishtadlus, the ashpa that we get from above is enormous. So again, just to be masakim everything that we spoke about today, we spoke about the doorways, we spoke about what it means, I'll be pnimius and yonim. When you open up any opening from our side, taking away our yeshus and doing what Hashem wants, making a ishtadlus from our side, this brings a great hashpa, milamaila, just like the Pesach Ha'ulam, that it didn't have any doorways. We're talking about hashpa that constantly flows, giving brachas in all aspects in life. But just in order to engage these brachas, we have to make some kind of an opening just to come through, just to come into the Azara and get constant brachas and hashpais milamaila. May we merit to see the third Beis Hamikdash, and as the Rebbe says, all we have to do is just to bring it into our doors. May we see it speedily in our days, and it should be already the Sheyibana Beis Hamikdash B'meira V'yameinu B'sein Chalkeinu B'sein Asecha.
Amen. Thank you so much, Rabbi Mayzlesh. It was a real treat, and your chayas in the subject is very contagious. Thank you for sharing of your precious time with us. I do want to remind everybody that tomorrow is going to be Neshei Chabad's Power Hour. We're going to have a 5-minute segment on Hilchos Bais Habchirah there. And we know that we're actually building the Beis HaMikdash as we learn. So who wouldn't want that opportunity? And who wouldn't want to share that opportunity? So please, please, please share the invite with your friends. And we should be able to be zeicha to have this galus of Mashiach immediately. Have a good night.